So, hello everyone and welcome. Today I'll be talking about what to expect from the Magia Record anime. So the Magia Record anime is gonna air in a few days, and if you're still undecided on if you want to watch it or if you don't actually know that much what the Magia Record anime is about and you still want to maybe get a second opinion on what actually is the deal with Magia Record, because maybe you haven't played the game yet, or maybe you've only seen Madoka Magica. If you haven't seen Madoka Magica, you should probably watch that one first before going into this. You don't have to, but it's probably still better if you do, to just get an extra bit of enjoyment out of it. But as the title says, this will be a spoiler-free short talk about this, although I will be talking about the general tone and atmosphere of Magia Record, and if you already view that as a spoiler, then I'm sorry, this is not for you. But getting into it, from everything that we know, even though the anime hasn't aired yet, so for one, there has been a pre-screening of the first 2 episodes and we've seen a bunch of trailers, and we can basically already tell that it's going to cover the main story from the game. And even though they seem to have changed a few things here and there, it's still, for the most part, seems to be just the main story. So I'm just going to talk about the main story from the game, and if they just translate that into an anime with a handful of changes just to make it anime viable, how will that actually end up looking like? I need to mention at this point that the game also has other types of story. There's the another story, which is basically just a side story that tells you what the characters from the original Mario game are doing during the events of the game. Completely pointless. I don't think they're going to add anything from this. There's also event stories. We're not going to see any of these. There are some magical girl stories. The magical girl stories are a bit interesting, but I'll talk a bit more about these later. For now though, the first thing to realize is that since Magia Record is a mobile game and a gacha game, the story kind of is going to try to follow a specific path and be told in a specific way to cater to this sort of style of game. So for one, since you have like parts of a story that you're going to release, let's say every 2 or 3 months, you say, okay, this month we're going to give you this arc, and then next month we're going to get this chapter, and then that chapter, and then that chapter. Because everything gets released in chapters, you basically have these individual story arcs, these like packages of story that the game delivers to you. And this means that even though there is an overarching arc that spans the entire story, you will still see that there's always like, okay, now they're dealing with this thing, now they're dealing with this thing. So it's one thing after another, each packed into individual arcs. And because there's new characters that have to be sold in the gacha game, there will be new characters being added to the story all the time. And just to give a sort of feel on how many characters are going to be ending up in this game, in Madoka Magica there's maybe like 6 to 7 characters that are like actually relevant to the main plot. So we have the 5 main characters, Kyubey, and I guess to some degree you can say, well, Kamijo is important, and I guess we can maybe throw Hitomi in there as well, but for the most part, let's say it's about 6 characters that are like actual central to the main story. In Magia Record, it's about 20, and a bit more than 20 actually. So even though Magia Record is going to have about twice as many episodes as the original Madoka Magica anime will have, you will still run into the problem that just mathematically they just can't give these characters that much depth to them as they could in Madoka Magica. So for one, you just will have characters that just aren't as well thought out and as deep as they will be in Madoka Magica. But instead you will have more of a focus on the story progression and the individual arcs and like story packages, story sections that you'll see. So that would be more in what the story will focus on, what the writing will focus on. Overall, I would say that the writing quality will probably be noticeably weaker than Madoka Magica. It won't be that bad per se, but you will probably look at the characters and go, okay, these characters, they just aren't as fleshed out as they were in Madoka Magica, or the story will be less philosophical, less deep, less complex. It won't have as much of an overarching theme as Madoka Magica did, but instead it will focus more to be more adventurous, more action-driven, more varied in what it does. And overall, I would say it's going to be more light-hearted, at least in the scene-to-scene progression of the entire story than Madoka Magica was, where basically the entire second half of Madoka Magica was completely depressing, basically. But yeah, it will be more adventurous, more action, more varied, and in essence, what I want you to take away from this video is that you shouldn't try too hard to compare the original Madoka Magica to Magia Record, because it is a spin-off and it is its own thing, so you should judge it as its own thing. You can compare it to other anime of the last few years if you want to, but if you try to compare it to the original Madoka Magica, you're going to run into many different aspects where it's just very obvious that these are different kinds of stories. This is basically the core essence. These are different kinds of stories, different types of stories. So of course, even though people will still compare to original Madoka Magica, I'll probably also compare to original Madoka Magica as well. Don't try to use that as your sole purpose of evaluating if this is good or not. Try to view it as its own thing. So if you expect this to be basically in the same tier of quality as Madoka Magica, you'll probably be disappointed a bit. But I still think that overall, the anime, like I said, hasn't aired yet, but I'm still fairly confident that this will be a decent anime. It will be an anime that people will look at and they go, that's a good anime. But it won't be anything groundbreaking. Not on the same level that Madoka Magica was at all. So yeah, that's basically it for just to give you a sort of idea on Magia Record, on what you might be wanting to expect or not to expect. For the future, I'll probably do like reviews of each individual episode when each individual episode gets released, and I'll probably also do something like comparison where I take each individual episode and then take the corresponding part of the story in the game and show you what is different between the game and the anime. And of course, I'll still also do Magia Record like story, lore videos and guides in there as well. So all of that will also still be part of my content. So that's a lot of content coming. That's like, even if I release a video every day, I'm still not going to be done doing content in like the next 3 months, so that's going to be incredible. But yeah, if you want to see more Magia Record content in general, on the anime, on the game, on guides to help you get started on pretty much anything having to do with Magia Record, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell, I guess, I don't know. So that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.